Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about India's formidable women voters today. After all, as they say, mauka bhi hai aur dastoor bhi. An election is round the corner and Women's Day is upon us. And let's admit, symbolism does go a long way in politics. So we've had Prime Minister Modi announcing a 100-rupee reduction on gas cylinders on Women's Day. Stretching the advantage, he will be headed to West Bengal for a third time in 10 days to roast Mamata Banerjee over Sandesh Khali. Then we have Aam Aadmi Party that has announced 1,000 rupees a month for all women in Delhi. It's a scheme that is already in place in many other states. The Congress is aiming to do better and give 2,000 rupees a month to all women heads of BPL families across India if they are voted to power. That is part of their manifesto. And then there is the big one, the Women's Reservation Bill, giving 33% reservation to women in the Lok Sabha and state assemblies. It was hanging fire, ladies and gentlemen, for the last 30 years before the Modi government finally pushed it through last year. Now, this much is clear. In the last 10 years, women voters have emerged as a force to reckon with. You ignore them at your own risk. Nitish Kumar in Bihar and Shivraj Singh Chauhan in Madhya Pradesh will tell you that. And what strengthens that sentiment further is data. I will not bombard you with data, but these are some numbers you should keep in mind as we move into an election year. We are already there, actually. Let me, ladies and gentlemen, start by giving you a number that every political party has enshrined in its war room. There it is. In the last general election, that is 2019, more women showed up to vote than men. 67.18% compared to 67.01%. This was historic. Now, you can look at the numbers and say that the difference is only of 0.17%. Sure, but here's the thing. See what's coming in the future. Over the next 20 years or so, women voters will far outstrip male voters. The SBI is estimating that as opposed to 55% women, only 45% men will show up to vote in 2047, which means by 2047, women voters would have far outstripped the male voters. Okay, 2047 is too far off. What about now? What about 2024? According to the Election Commission, ladies and gentlemen, 47 crore women are registered to vote. An increase of 4 crores from 2019, which saw that historic moment of more women voting than men. If you're not convinced, look at individual states. Is that how women vote in state elections as well? Just one more set of data for you. In all the assembly elections we have seen in the last 5 years, in at least 18 out of 23, women voter turnout has been higher than men. And here's the clincher. In 10 of these states, the same government was voted back to power courtesy the Ashirwad of their women. That is the fact. State assemblies, ladies and gentlemen, but here's the question. I rest my case there, but here's the question. Why is that there are SOPs galore for women from north to south, but no tickets for them? What explains the fact that you're willing to keep women voters happy, giving them cylinders and mopeds and washing machines and 10 grams of gold and free ration and a monthly stipend, but you don't trust them with an election ticket? Look at what the data is telling us. It is telling us that in all state assemblies across the country, if you take out an average, only 9% women have representation. In the Lok Sabha, there are only 15% women. As we speak, those are the numbers. 9% women in assemblies and 15% in the Lok Sabha. So is the woman vote quid pro quo, transactional? You give me ration and cylinders and I will give you votes? Or is there much more to what influences India's Aadhi Abadi? Let's do a quick chat with our guest this evening. This is going to be a short, crisp chat. about 12 to 15 minutes. Maya Sharma is a senior journalist who's covered many, many elections, joining us on the broadcast. Piyush Tanwar is the research head at ETG. He's joining us on the broadcast as well. And Tushar Gupta is a political analyst joining us here on the show. Tushar, in fact, I should start with Maya Sharma, and not because it's Women's Day, but because of the fact that she's covered many, many elections as a journalist. Maya, have political parties reduced their relationship with women to this give and take sort of dynamic? We'll give you free rations, we'll give you free cylinders, we'll reduce the price of cylinders, we'll give you free ration, we'll give you $1,000 every month, we'll give you gold when you're getting married, you give us your vote. Is that what the relationship has been reduced to, or is there much more to that?
I wouldn't say it's a reduction as such, because it's certainly working for the political parties. At least that is what you would think. Take the last year's elections in Karnataka. There were several promises made, of which at least two applied to women. I'm not talking about stops on gas cylinders and household items, because as I saw on social media, it's not only women who eat. The gas cylinder is not just for women. But I'm talking about things which were really just for the women. The free travel on buses in Karnataka was extremely popular. The transfer of money directly to the accounts of the woman head of the family. Those have been schemes which have been very popular. A lot of frustration for those who have not yet got it due to some paperwork or something, but those are very popular schemes. And the same pattern was tried in Telangana. It's, of course, when you're the party that is doing it, it's enriching women, it's reaching out to women. If the other party is doing it, it's a SOP or a freebie. That, of course, is Indian politics. But it has been followed. It's a pattern which is being followed in state after state, and the Lok Sabha election as well is no different. They are finally waking up to the fact that women make up almost half of the voters. Growing numbers, of course, 47 crores, nothing to be trifled with. Growing numbers, the rate of women voters is increasing faster than the number of male voters. And while it was earlier thought that anyway, the man is the head of the family, he'll decide who the family votes for, so let's focus on him. The fact is that women vote the way they want to vote, and because it is a secret ballot, at least hopefully, when they go into the voting booth, they're voting for whom they want to vote for. So it's not enough to just target the man of the house and think that maybe by winning his vote, you've got the family's vote. That isn't the case. I think the reaching out to women is a realization by the political parties. It's not maybe so transactional, but it's a realization that if we give a little, we may get a lot.
Piyush Tanwar, any insights into how women vote in this country? Now, we are talking about women as a vote bank, and we are talking about them as a homogeneous vote bank, but that may not be necessarily true. Maya may vote for a particular party for one reason. I will vote for a particular party. My top priority, for example, would be law and order, would be safety and security for women. But that may not necessarily be the case for a woman in Odisha who's a BPL, who requires that ration, will be happy if her gas cylinder is subsidized. So in any case, women, I don't think, are a homogeneous vote bank. But any insights into how they vote and what they vote for?
First of all, Shreya ji, I would like to thank you and your team for bringing up this topic, because in the past, we have seen a lot of debates coming on the representation of women in the Lok Sabha, Vidhan Sabha, but this particular topic has always been ignored, like, how women votes or what is their mentality. So I would say my own personal reason, I was on the field. So in the rural areas, what we have seen, the welfare schemes do work, because if you see in the Madhya Pradesh, it has worked like very well for BJP, but it did not work for Rajasthan, because their entire campaign was spring campaign. So it's not necessary it will work, but
Correct.
because if you see it's a 50-50, so any political party or any, incumbent government, they don't want to give up on that. Because it's a huge chunk of vote share. Like they don't want to give up, and it's a good way. Like if you give it, like it's not just the welfare schemes or they just want the freebies. It's also one kind of empowerment, because now they are participating and now they are becoming a deciding factor. Because we have seen in MP, it was a huge, like if you have seen the Karnataka, because of the 10 kg rice promises from the Congress party, they came to the power. So what I have seen, but still there's a long way to go, because in the urban, women are more independent voters, or they don't, just go by their father or the husband. But in the rural area, it's still it's a long way to go. And also, I would add one more thing that, like for me, like if I go to the field or my team on the field, rural part or either it's urban part, it's very difficult to interact with the women and to get their opinion. But like on the day of polling, they do vote differently, because we have seen, if we go to any household, they do say that yes, whatever my husband decide. But on the after that, when we did the post poll alliance, we did found that they did voted differently.
Okay, so you're telling me, this is what you're telling me. Are you telling me, Piyush, as someone who goes on the field and conducts these surveys, that most women in rural India will still vote where their husbands want them to vote? Does the ballot box and the anonymity of the ballot box not give them the power to rebel and do what they want to do?
No, I see. I would say I would say that it's not like all the 50% women go and do like vote independently. But even if you get like 10%, because we have seen this particular 10% difference in Madhya Pradesh. So 10% is a huge number if you take it in absolute numbers. So yes, but like mostly we have seen, like I wouldn't say, even if a small number here and there, it's absolutely like any party who gets a slight edge or slight more vote from the women voter, they it can be a deciding for a factor and they might win, but not entirely. Women voters go and vote independently, especially in the rural areas, and it's purely because of the political awareness, because a lot of women we have seen in the rural areas, they're not much interested in the politics.
But the fact also is, we can say that, I mean, you can say that they are not much interested in politics, but the fact is, in last year's election, women voters were more than male voters. So that is telling us something, and the SBI report is also telling us that in the next 20 years or so, women voters will far outstrip male voters. So, Tushar Gupta, would you want to come in here at this point of time and just look at individual netas and how they have performed as far as women are concerned? I know women are a big Labharti group for the Prime Minister, and the word Labharti is bandied around much by the BJP. But it's not just the BJP, and it's not just Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The fact is, and Maya maybe can speak about it in a bit as well. It actually, to my mind, started with J. Jayalalitha promising, free mixers and pressure cookers and washing machines to women in her state. Then, of course, you have someone like, Bihar's current chief minister, who's with Prime Minister Modi right now, Nitish Kumar, giving out cycles, winning. You have someone like Shivraj Singh Chauhan and his Ladli Beti Yojana as well. So it's not just one party. Almost every party has tried to cultivate this vote bank.
Good evening, Shreya. Happy Women's Day to all the viewers of Mirror Now. Look, we do not have to confuse freebies with welfare. And I can tell you this, when I have been on the ground talking to the women voters in tribal villages of Odisha, which is again traditionally not a BJP state, one thing for sure, in rural India, women can see through freebies. They understand that these monetary freebies will not last forever. They understand that when a free cycle is being given to them, it doesn't mean that it comes with development for sure. So women voters in rural India now, perhaps in the last 5 or 10 years, are more aware of what's going on, what their requirements are. Of course, you can say that previous chief ministers of any party have come up with a lot of promises, a lot of delivery, a lot of implementation. But what women are looking for today is empowerment. They want opportunities to work. They are not dependent on their husbands, or rather they do not want to be dependent on their husbands. When you talk to them about digital payments or bank accounts, they say we want more control over our money. We do not want the male heads or the household head to take care of the money for us. We want to do it ourselves. When you talk to them about accessing formal credit, women working in FPOs or self-help groups will say, we want to access loans, we want to pay it back on time, and we want to create more employment opportunities within our community, at the local level, at the village level. So the women of today want to be enabled, they want to empower themselves. And let me tell you, Shreya, no politician in India, no leader in India, be it a panchayat election, an MLA election, MP election, prime minister election, anything, if you cannot have the women voters on your side, if you cannot convince them, and convincing means proper developmental idea, not just endless freebies, you cannot have their votes. In rural India especially, the women voters will really marvel you with their thinking, with how they think, with how they approach the elections. So I think that's a very welcome change, and I hope we see more of it, because in this political setup now in the future, it's going to be the women voters who are going to turn the tide towards one or the other party in every election. We saw it in Uttar Pradesh when women came out and spoke highly about the law and order situation. They spoke highly about the COVID welfare. They spoke their mind. If they had any grievances also, they spoke their mind. But they were very clear about what they wanted. And first of all, they want an atmosphere where they feel safe and they want to be enabled. They don't want to be given a fish every day, so as to say. They want to learn how to catch a fish.
No, I can attest to that as someone who comes from Uttar Pradesh, that the reason, one of the big reasons that Yogi Adityanath came back to power was the fact that he was seen to be extremely efficient when it came to law and order and for women. And I think for most citizens who especially live in urban India, who live in cities and towns, security is a big issue. It's a major issue. For me, it's the highlight issue. It's the number one issue that I'll vote for. But Maya Sharma, do you agree with Tushar Gupta when he says that, you know, when women vote, they just don't vote on freebies or sops. They will also vote on the development that their state or their city or their village is seeing. Is that something that you've seen happen in Karnataka, or did women vote for the Congress government purely based on what they were offering?
Well, like you said, there are women voters and there are women voters. Certainly women in urban areas, women who have the access to information, have the access to news media, will be able to think of larger issues. But really speaking, the woman who is struggling to survive, struggling to feed her family in a rural area or perhaps even in an urban slum, may be thinking more of the, if I can travel by bus and it's free, that's useful for me. If I can get my gas cylinder, if I can get my electricity, 200 units free electricity, that is very useful for me. By the nature of the life, by the nature of the daily survival of their life, they may be thinking of these things, whether you call them freebies, sops, or benefits for households. They may be thinking of that more than a larger thing, a larger picture. They may be feeling, how is my life better if I vote for this party? Will I be able to get my rations? Will I be able to feed my children better? That may very well be the case for women who don't have the education, who don't have the empowerment, which of course brings us back to what you were mentioning earlier as well. It's not just about women voters. We should be able to vote for women. That is a question which all political parties with men at the head seem to be quite sure about. They don't really want to hand over that power. If we have more women standing for election, then perhaps there will be some more empathy and more understanding going down. The issue which is important to you of safety. If there's a woman taking a call, then perhaps there will be even more awareness of what is involved. So I think we need to look not just to the women voters, but at the women candidates for really to talk of progress and empathy towards women.
You know, the numbers tell you the story. Why political parties are happy to give sops to women but not tickets. 15% women representation in the Lok Sabha, 9% in state assemblies. If that doesn't tell you a story, I don't know what does. Piyush, before I end this chat, since you are also someone who visits the field, speaks to people across India, urban and rural, do you agree with what Tushar is saying, that women are not just looking at that free ration and sasta cylinder and that 1,000 rupees coming into their bank account every month courtesy the government, but they are looking at the larger picture. They are looking at development of schools. They are looking at other things as well. Is that what your experience says? Or is that an idealistic expectation from someone who's struggling to feed her children every day?
So I will agree with him partially, not fully. I won't agree with him because I have been to the field on ground in rural parts and also especially in the tribal parts. What we feel, yes, welfare schemes are actually, helping government or parties to win, which is why you see, which is why a lot of parties or governments are giving a lot of welfare schemes, because they see that yes, it do impact them in a positive way. Otherwise, they won't. Second thing, but if I want to add to Tusarji's point, yes, they are looking for the empowerment, but more in the terms like if every year we are getting new voters, new women voters. They are actually looking for education, good health schemes or your infrastructure. But in the UP, I want to add something. As you said, like you are also from UP. So law and order was one of the major positive feedback which we got from the women, and especially from the women, especially from the Muslim women, I would say, because one statement, I was on the field and they made that जब योगी जी आए तो हमारी भी माँ और बेटियां जो है वो हम भी सुरक्षित हुए, हमारी भी माँ बेटियां जो है बहनें हैं वो सुरक्षित हुई है, एंड दिस केम फ्रॉम अ women voters. So Muslim women voters, just for the law and order, they did voted for BJP, which is actually considered as the anti-BJP votes, but still. So yes, they are looking for the empowerment, law and order, not just freebies.
That's illustrative. So it's not just freebies, and some people will call them freebies, some people will call them welfare schemes. But for women, what also matters is law and order, the security, her daughter's security, her family's security. This is a long conversation, and there is part two. There's a second part to this conversation about women representation in state assemblies and the Lok Sabha as well. But that's a conversation for another time. Maya Sharma, we'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much. Piyush, thank you very much. And Tushar, thank you very much for joining us as well. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, I'm slipping into a quick break on the show. There's more on the other side. Do stay with us.